Preview.
What is attractive about men?
Oh my gosh, we love dad bods.
Short King season.
And I do think something bad will happen. Obviously, anything to do with like the LGBT community to then like...
You don't want a blue tick too early. Cancelling them, so to speak, kind of just resulted in an enormous force of people wanting to elect President Trump, which does that happen?
I went to Belfast yesterday. Like, no one cared.
Everyone's got the same 24 hours. David Goggins, Atlantis, reframing masculinity in the contemporary context. Fascinating. Harnessing that shorter time frame is like, obviously when you're filming stuff on a phone with no lighting and no stabilization or whatever, it's gonna, look like trash. So actually, you don't give a shit about this conflict or that situation.
Right, God. Ooh, yeah.
That was a tangent.
Welcome to number 15, KOKO Pods, the first podcast that I've released on my new KOKO Pods channel. I've obviously re-uploaded all of my episodes, but it really felt like it needed its own platform. So here it is. Ed Zorab, he's a good mate of mine. I haven't seen him in a long time. So we just caught up, talked about loads of shit. He's a film director / writer. He's just a really talented storyteller, honestly. But we ended up chatting about lots of random shit, not necessarily just about filmmaking. David Goggins, Molly May, living a simple life, etc., etc. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you enjoyed this new format where I show like a little preview in the beginning and then I do a little intro, and altogether should be just 2 minutes. And we go. 3, 2, 1. Just make yourself comfortable, man.
I feel very comfortable. Am I allowed some of this sparkling water?
Yeah. That's what it's there for. Yeah.
I do love sparkling water.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Health.
Yeah.
To your health.
To your health, actually.
And your crazy David Goggins marathon running 4 kilometers every 4 hours.
Yeah, that was a fun experience.
Really?
Yeah, it was not as it was tough, but it was it's just very monotonous. Because you're not necessarily pushing.
No, you're repeating the same climb every 4 hours, basically.
Every 4 hours, yeah, and it gets a bit you sort of enter like a different state of mind where you sort of know what you're trying to achieve. We try and do this like fucking silly workout challenge thing.
It was David Goggins, wasn't it?
It was David Goggins, yeah. 4 miles, every 4 hours, 48 hours.
He's a nutter.
He is a nutter. I love him though.
I got very into my fitness over lockdown.
Sweet.
And running has persisted it's become integral to like the creative process as well as just general, good housekeeping for your body. I'm reading up on David Goggins and his journey, and he's I know Joe Rogan's a big fan of him.
Yeah.
I think how I first got wind of him.
Yeah, same as I think actually.
But what a nut job.
Yeah, have you read his book?
No.
Don't Hurt Me. It's fucking intense. His life is his life's mental. Like the beginnings of his life was proper rough.
Oh right.
Proper rough, which sort of makes sense. I mean, you can sense that he was a broken man once upon a time. Yeah. But he had a really intense childhood, like lots of physical. His dad was like a proper maniac. Okay. He used to own like bars and like disco places and stuff, and like he was proper known in places, and he made lots of money. So his dad like had quite a lot of money, but proper abusive, and he ended up like running away. And anyway, it's like a proper long story. But his book, it's
interesting that his approach though, because I feel like a lot of the people that look to that, sort of fitness extremism basically are people who get very fed up all of a sudden and want to make a change instantly. And more often than not, those people are themselves, overweight or unhealthy and they want to go. But like going from nothing to David Goggins level is like the worst thing that you could do. So it always has like a backfiring effect, that crazy motivational work through the pain. It's like, no, sometimes the pain is telling you that you're about to like shatter your tibia or something.
Yeah.
Stop running for a week.
How often you running now?
I try and do about like 15 to 20k a week now.
Oh, nice.
But I was training for Hackney Half last September, and I was doing something like 40 to 50 kilometers a week.
Oh, nice. Intense. Yeah, proper.
Yeah.
Did you do the Hackney Half?
I didn't. I actually injured myself a week before it.
Sucky.
And I gave myself shin splints, which took me like 3 months all in all to recover from.
Really?
And it was infuriating because I was also in like this amazing physical shape, and watching all of that like hard work just like drain away. Yeah, but that's when I joined, because I couldn't do any sort of like impact training. I joined a gym and started like weights and swimming a lot, and have kind of been on that journey as well. And so my average week is sort of a healthy mix of kind of, you know, a couple of 5Ks and a 10K, and then a arm day, a leg day.
Nice.
Not arms, upper body.
Upper body, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice because I've never really, I mean, you obviously met me when I was 18 and very uninterested in anything to do with fitness and stuff.
Yeah. Well, we had been on a couple of runs though, I remember.
We did do that. That was good fun, actually. But I've never been into the kind of like aesthetics of like bodybuilding and things like that. It's just something that's never interested. But what I have found quite interesting is like being functionally stronger in like my legs helps my running, you know, like building up my quads and my calves and like my more minute muscles around there. Like I can go faster without feeling like I'm putting in more effort, which is a nice surprise, I think.
That's good, man. It's good to hear. It's good to hear that, because I don't know. I like when people get into exercise, because it seems, especially within like our sort of bubble of the world, where it's like full of artists and stuff. Like artists and exercise, it's like
it's not cool.
It's not cool. It's not like.
But then I think I reached a point where I was like, I don't know, being out of breath from walking up the stairs isn't that cool.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, like unfortunately, the only people that sort of stay slim in the arts, you know, are either like
extreme smokers,
coke addicts, or junkies, I guess.
Yeah.
The sort of Jim Morrison aesthetic of being shredded but doing no work whatsoever to get there.
Well, doing work in other ways, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, welcome to the KOKO Pods. We haven't even no introduction.
Straight into it.
Yeah. I mean,
we're just brimming with
just chatting, because we're talking about hadn't seen each other in like we were trying to figure out when.
Fair few years now.
Yeah.
This is, I think, to go on another tangent, like sometimes the complications of like following people on Instagram, it's like I feel like I am still relatively in tune as to what you're doing and where you are, and we leave each other the old comment and stuff like that. I've kind of massively forgotten I haven't actually been in the same room as you for like, it's got
3 years plus.
3 years plus, I think. Maybe 4. What a journey it's been.
Seriously, yeah. I mean,
sat on the table.
Man, what the hell? Do you know what I was thinking today? Your surname Zorab, yeah.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
Armenia.
It's
an Armenian surname.
What part of your family is?
On my dad's side, a fair few generations ago now, the Zorabs left. Well, our strain of Zorab did. There's lots of Zorabs still there.
Yeah.
But I myself don't speak any Armenian.
Yeah. Have you been?
No, and it's something I've been wanting to do for a while, but recently with the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh, it's maybe felt like not the best time to go. And then especially with everything that's happening in that general area right now. But I am hoping someday in the future when things come down to make it to Yerevan and
explore the
get more in
ancestry.
touch with my ancestry and my cultural heritage, I suppose. Yeah.
The Zorab, yeah, cool. Yeah, I've just sort of always wondered, like, what? Because it's a cool surname as well.
It is quite cool.
Ed Zorab. It's a strong...
Ed Zorab. Yeah, well, it is good because on Google there are no other ones, or at least no other ones born during the internet generation.
Yeah.
So for search engine efficiency, I've got
it's a good name.
Yeah, definitely.
Good name.
Got my Google knowledge panel on the side.
Yeah, love that.
They make them automatically, and they try and like guess what you do based on X amounts of like features you've had on different articles or IMDb or whatever. And they had me down as a film editor for like 6 months, which is very frustrating because I'm not a film editor.
No.
And I had to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to get it changed.
So what do you mean? Like what Google sort of
so you know when you search for someone's name on Google, like
whatever, anyone.
Tyler the Creator,
yeah.
And it will come up on the right hand side. Tyler the Creator
is that
musical artist, his links to Spotify and everything.
Yeah,
it does that automatically based on like the amount of stuff on the internet. And so recently I passed some sort of threshold of like having my name featured enough places that they invented one for me, but they gave me the wrong job. And and in order to claim your knowledge panel, they give you like a piece of HTML code that you have to put in your website. It's like to prove you are the main site runner of X name. You put almost like this little sort of Morse code message in your website's coding, and then you submit that website back to them, and they can see that you have clearly got clearance to add that to the website. So even if you're not X person, you must work for X or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. I didn't know how it works. Yeah.
But I mean, KOKO Stoimanov, that's a pretty unique name as well, right?
Yeah. There's a couple costed in Stoimanovs, but luckily I'm just going by KOKO now. So
yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that. That'd be quite cool. It's like when you get your blue check mark on Twitter.
Tick, yeah.
But that's the blue tick of Google. That's funny.
Blue tick. There's all sorts of funny politics around like blue ticks. You don't want a blue tick too early. You don't want it on like 2,500 because then it just looks like you're really hungry for it. You want the sort of camouflage of like 10 to 15k, and then it kind of looks like they might have approached you to ask if you want one.
Yeah.
Even though everyone under like 20k with a blue tick has clearly spent hours like emailing.
Please give me the blue tick. Yeah, I know it's silly, innit? But I guess sort of like
it helps. It helps for sure. Do you have a blue tick?
No. Well, I'm off social media this year as well.
Are you?
Yeah. So I haven't really. I'm just doing YouTube.
Okay.
And no Insta, no Twitter. I would go on Insta occasionally just to like check DMs and stuff, see if like any work or anything's come through, or people send me like, oh, check out this guy's story. He's looking for whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't. Doing like a bit of a reset for social media, really, just because it was getting a bit too much. I was getting too I don't know, I just wasn't using it the way I wanted to use it. I sort of felt like I was being used by it type of thing.
Definitely.
So I felt like, okay, let me just step away. And I know it's probably not a good idea when I'm trying to build a podcast and stuff, but at least it's like whatever, you know. I want to focus on the important things in life, and
I think that's very healthy.
Yeah, so stepped away for it.
I think I would do that too if I wasn't so sort of. Well, I don't know if I am dependent on social media for work, but I feel like I am. I feel like to step away would be to close down a channel of communication, and it certainly helps when you're on jobs, and as you say, you need to find someone in a pinch. You know, it's sort of like
it's a massive
sets
tool.
The connection tree going of different people.
Recently I was in a real pinch. I needed an AC, and I was trying to message people, and I was like, man, just like if I just put up a story right now, I probably could get someone would get in contact straight away. So I've also definitely lost out on work. because of not being on social media. But I kind of knew that anyway, you know. I kind of knew that was going to be the case, but
how's it been social media free for?
Yeah, it's nice. It's weird because it doesn't feel like I'm free from the spell quite yet, because because I'm on YouTube. There's like YouTube Shorts now as well, and they're just as fucking addictive.
Yeah.
So like, it's a whole thing of just watching
a hot nickel ball melt through a pool noodle.
Yeah. It's all just like the fucking silly videos, and they'll, just like at night you're trying to just fucking. At night you're just scrolling through like YouTube done videos at the end of your willpower, just kind of, I don't know, it's hard. It is hard. It's kind of I guess trying to achieve some sort of digital minimalism type of thing where I don't know, it's such a great tool that I feel like I have used it in my favor to an extent, but I don't think
it's an interesting tool because it's used to create so much garbage, obviously, and meaningless, impactless content. But I think, as you say, it could be used quite effectively. A project I'm working on at the moment is a suite of like 6 short films, all under 60 seconds. And the intended release platform for them is Instagram. And they're these cool little character pieces. It was sort of was born out of having a drought of content during lockdown, and me and my mate Harry decided that we kind of wanted to, without the time frame or the budget to go out and make 6 full-length movies, we were like, if we just did a character snapshot of each one. So it's super like economic, tight, lean storytelling, and you go on this entire sort of journey. It's kind of like skits, but like not necessarily as jovial and as funny as skits. But we're trying at the moment, I guess, to sort of capitalize on that. I guess if short form is like short films, and we're talking about like micro short films,
short films,
and trying to like work out how it can be used. I think that's something that's just always sat kind of uncomfortably with me, and my work is like, obviously some of my favorite filmmakers have repurposed or pushed the bounds of technology over like the 20th century, changing art forms by, looking to the future. Whereas like, it doesn't feel like that's necessarily progress with our generation, because we're not getting like, we're making things even shorter. We're not pushing them longer. We're not making them bigger anymore. We're making everything smaller. We climbed over those ladders of like, 16 mil, 35 mil, 70 mil IMAX. And now it's kind of like, we had a brief moment where we were obsessed with massive TVs, but pretty much everything is designed for phone consumption. So we'll see what comes of it and if it's a success.
Is that going to be on on its own Instagram or?
Yeah, we have, the project's name is Apophenia.
Apophenia.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's the like mistaken connection between different things which somebody believes are related but are completely unrelated.
Okay, nice.
It's one of the earlier diagnostic stages in schizophrenia.
Apophenia.
Apophenia, and it's these 6 different characters in different time periods throughout time, all kind of beginning their own journey into believing there's some sort of connective thread between all of them. It's very fun.
Yeah, what is going on? Let me just let me just press the button. But anyway, so what?
Apophenia.
Apophenia. That's what you're.
We, as of yet, probably have a release date for the end of this year. We're in pre-production for the second one at the moment, and we're hoping to have the third one completed by June, and then 4, 5, and 6 at some point between June and September.
Nice. And then in terms of like technical, like are you filming it on a phone or are you filming it on cameras?
So we shot the first one on an A7S III with my DOP's just got some new lenses.
So you're doing it properly.
Yes,
properly. Yeah, but just in short.
Because I think that's the other thing about harnessing that shorter time frame is like, obviously when you're filming stuff on a phone with no lighting and no stabilization or whatever, it's gonna, look like trash. So actually taking the kind of the school of production that we were taught when we were at film school and applying it to, an environment where that's not really seen very often is kind of interesting. And I'm hoping that will be a strength of the project.
Yeah,
and not
definitely.
a drastic overspend on our behalf. No one gives a shit.
I'm a big fan when I see like super short form content that's got the right production value. You know what I mean? It's like it's just nice to look at. As much as obviously the story is important, but it is just nice to look at.
Very visually calming, and it's nice because like it's just me and my mates basically.
Nice.
Like we all set out to work very hard after film school graduation, and everyone's kind of found their path and gotten onto it, and now this is just something we do on the weekends, trying to make it as good as possible without being damaging to everyone's professional work schedules and stuff like that, and seeing what other people want. As I said, like Ed, my DOP, Glyn Jones, just got a new set of lenses, so we did the first one as a kind of lens test to making sure we got shots on every single lens and everything. Lily, the actress, wanted a kind of American but southern USA accent for her show reel, so we kind of tailored the character to her. And just kind of like it's, you forget you really don't have huge amounts of room to experiment and fail when you're working professionally, because if you fail, that's no good.
Yeah, it's not good.
And people remember, and it's actually really lovely to have created this sort of safe experimental project where everyone gets to try something, a takeaway from it and stuff like that. The only issue is that because we're such a small production team, it's obviously taking a little bit of time to create everything, and so all the people involved in number one want to release all their stills, and because it looks so gorgeous, but we have to wait until they're all completed before.
I'm excited to see them, man.
Yeah. I can actually show you number one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Afterwards.
Yeah. And what about all the music video stuff? I saw I went on the obviously the fur video. It's got like 20 million views.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That one still goes up. Yeah, I check back on it every so often.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, really cool. No, the music video is going well. I recently signed with DeadBeat on their roster of music video directors, and I had my first job through them about 3 weeks ago now, beginning of April.
How'd that go?
Amazing, to be honest with you. Like, they're such a tightly knit family kind of orientated team. Everyone's super young. There's no assholes or anything like that.
Nice.
They're just really lovely, sweet people. And yeah, it was for a German electronic artist called Jonas Su.
Oh, nice.
He did that Black Magic song.
Oh no, just the fact that it's electronic.
Yeah.
I think
it was a first for me, moving away from
like lyrics and
it does have a singer in it.
Oh, it does.
Reeve, Canadian artist. The song is so catchy. You'll hear it on the radio soon, I'm sure. But yeah, it's interesting because obviously with that, that new. It was very nerve-wracking, but also felt amazing to be back, and just felt like COVID delays were finally over. And, yeah. But no, it went really well. We shot in Beckenham, which is almost as far from me as it was to get here today. But in the other direction, south.
What is the video out yet?
Yeah.
Oh,
came
nice.
out last Friday.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah.
And already on like 100k views or
Sweet.
something. It's doing really well. Massively riding on the coattails of how catchy the song is.
Yeah. Well, it kind of does. Yeah. That's the thing about making music videos. Sometimes it's like sometimes
it's the video that does it. Sometimes it's the song that does it. I think I've had it both ways now, and it's obviously nicer when
the video does it.
The video does it. But I think that there's also a certain degree of like,
if the song's not good, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, completely. You can't get traction on a trash song. But what about you? So all your stuff with Stuupid and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that still going?
Well, not really. I mean, me and Ella sort of parted ways in terms of that setting.
Yeah.
Like it's like Stupid's very much going, but it's more of a, I think it's just going to be a lot more of a long-term project. Ella's sort of just gathering her skills at the moment, doing lots of bits and bobs, and actually doing really well. As in, like she's done a lot of editing, and I'm taking lots of tips from her, honestly, just by the way she goes about things, because she's very much dives in the deep end and then just like sort of
works her.
Yeah. Which is kind of, I mean, I've to be honest, that's how I've gone about things as well. And I think there's a lot to be learned from that way of doing, where you sort of do it and you just learn from doing rather than learn from, thinking about doing that type of thing. Sure. But that's like me and her still work together on things, definitely. And maybe we'll do some more stupid stuff in the future. You never know. But other things, I mean, like I said, I want to do more of this like YouTube malarkey. Yeah. Trying to figure that out. I've got some sort of plan that I'm gonna follow. See if it works out really.
Well, I remember even when we first met, you were super into like KC.
Casey Neistat, yeah. Because I was just was I doing vlogs back then, or was that before? I can't remember. There was like a period where I vlogged like every day for like 30 days or something.
Right.
That was proper Casey.
How was that?
Yeah, Casey Neistat inspired. I mean, that was like when I was like 19 or something. But I don't know. I've always played with the idea about being on YouTube and actually like doing it properly. But I guess it's just finding my voice in it. Yeah. Well, like what do I want to say? Like what niche do I want to do? And that's kind of like my struggle, really. So I've given myself this year to sort of figure that out. Yeah. I have like no.
Maybe that's the thing.
That's the thing.
You trying to find what your thing is.
I'll have
KOKO searches.
KOKO search.
Meaning.
Yeah, meaning of YouTube. Yeah. YouTube life. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's
that'd be quite funny. You could try fishing. You could try.
Well, actually, fishing is one of the things I will do on the channel.
Jousting. You could try. Oh yeah, I forgot. You're quite an avid fisherman, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, my dad is, and I go sometimes when my mate actually. Yeah, Kiro. Remember Kiro? Yeah.
How's your sister?
Yeah, she's alright. She's got a baby now.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, I'm an uncle.
To her.
Yeah. His name's Huxley.
Very nice.
Yeah, very British name.
After.
It's not Aldous Huxley.
Okay.
Just Huxley. They just like the name. And he's a year and a half.
Very nice.
Yeah. Oh man, I love being an uncle.
Uncle KOKO.
Yeah, I love it. I'm very much settling into the like.
Oh, good. It's all the fun with none of the responsibilities.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Just go and see him. Just have fun with him, and then whenever. To be honest, I'm well excited for him to like grow up, and I'll just like take him to London. Yeah. Take him to the big smoke.
Nice.
Experience the life out here. That's gonna be yeah. Because they'll still live in Southampton. My parents do, and then my sister and her husband, they live in North Baddesley.
Oh right. Cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Nice little village. Yeah. But they're doing all right. Obviously, the pandemic hit them really bad because they opened a business. They like actually opened their doors like 3 hours before the first lockdown. So they closed like straight away, and they reopened. But they've sort of just been.
Are they still based in? Was it Red Church? No.
North Baddesley.
No, your parents.
Oh no, they Millbrook. That's it, yeah. Forgot where I lived in.
Yeah.
Millbrook, yeah. That place is weird. It's getting gentrified.
Is it?
Yeah, there's like lots of new builds and stuff, but it's still like...
That weird sex shop is still there on the motorway entrance into Southampton.
Which sex shop?
Millbrook is next to the Millbrook Chippy. There's like adult videos.
Really?
Yeah. It's been going strong
mate.
as long as I can remember.
Fuck it. I didn't even know that. Yeah, Millbrook's weird, man. It's just like a lot of people that sort of just like float through life, and like there isn't much more to them, like to their life than just their little bubble.
Well, I think, I'm fortunate. It's not really for me to comment on whether it's a better or worse approach, but I think one of the things you lose touch on when you're living in London, which is so vibrantly full of so many people with so many dreams and like so much charisma, is that the vast majority of the world
that's not the case.
Absolutely fine, cracking on, and
just going about their life.
And we're, I guess, very fortunate and privileged to sort of maybe want to see what's above the cloud or behind the mountain or something like that.
I do.
But no, I get what you mean about Millbrook. It is full of, like...
Just, like people getting stabbed with screwdrivers and shit. I do think about that, actually, about the like how weird, not weird, just different London is to the rest of England. Like sometimes when you travel and you go to like weird little towns, you sort of, I don't know, exactly what you said, is just meet people that are sort of very happy just living and just going about their life.
Yeah.
And it's very simple, but it's a very satisfactory life. I think in London is, I don't know statistically or whatever, but like in terms of like depression, anxiety and stuff, like, oh my gosh, like I feel like London is like, or just like big cities in general, feels like the epicenter of all that stuff.
Well, we've all got something.
Yeah,
for sure. I don't know if that stuff doesn't go on elsewhere, but I also think that, I guess, conversations are had a lot more in London and or in any kind of like metropolistic, liberal leaning, epicenter, as you say. Things like that are going to come up in conversation more than not. But I think things are getting better. I don't know how much better. Or maybe that's just like blind optimism. I think things are getting better. No proof or anything. Mental
that's
health,
fine. That's how you
conversations are improving in some small mining town in the north of England. I don't know. But interesting.
Man, it's whatever. I mean, how do you feel about the world? Are you positive about the world?
I think so. I'm going on holiday at the end of this month. It will be the first time leaving the country in 4 years.
Wow.
And I'm very excited to that. I'm going very far away to Paris. Baby steps. Yeah, no, I'm going to Paris for a few days to see some friends, and then it's my mate's wedding in the countryside.
Oh, lovely.
And then getting the train back.
Nice. I haven't actually been to France.
Never been to France.
Yeah, never been to France.
To be honest, especially the northern part, it's just like, you can see it just used to be attached to England, like all the same wildlife. Like
it's all the same, yeah.
It's so lovely, like getting off a plane and hearing a completely different soundscape of insects, of birds, of wind. But like in like Normandy and parts of Brittany, it's like it sounds exactly the same as being on like the Isle of Wight or Portsmouth or anywhere.
Just around those, yeah.
But no, I say I am optimistic about the world because I am going to Paris.
That's the...
hopefully see if I can materialize, just a little music video or something whilst I'm there. But run around with some friends, have some wine on the river Seine.
Sounds lovely.
Live my romantic comedy dreams.
And
And
you say you got a girlfriend now as well?
I do. Oh God, the podcast official immortalized.
Yeah.
No, it's still early, first sort of 5 months.
Oh, nice.
It's nice. I mean, like, I was obviously single for the entirety of lockdown, and as were, it's not exactly like a hot take that it was lonely during those times. I was joking to my flatmate because I said a similar thing the other day, and he was, "Oh, keep that one to yourself, mate." But yeah, no, it was bleak, obviously. So being back in the world of like dating and romance, 'cause it was just like an entire side of people that just got switched off. There was no, no kind of debate about it. but now that's all back and everything. We've got a super gonorrhea strain running around.
Yeah, exactly.
Ebbs and flows.
Yeah. It's good to hear you're positive. That's a good. I feel like it's a good measure of how people are doing in their life if they feel.
I think so.
Good about the world.
Yeah. I didn't feel good about the world this time. 18 months ago, it was not so good. Even last summer, I moved back to London in April, and everyone was still a bit trepidatious, a bit cautious about kind of returning. You know, it was like, is there going to be another wave in winter? And whereas, you know, now I feel like, and you know, rather grimly in parallel, when the conflict with Ukraine started, I think people kind of got like jerked out of it. You know, like one day the front page news we all cared about was whether or not Boris Johnson was going to get fined for attending a party, and then the next day it was like Russian forces have invaded Ukraine. You could not have had a more like hilarious shift in like severity to what everyone was thinking about and talking about. But for whatever reason, that seems to have, I guess, like shook us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I went to Belfast yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and honestly, just, like no one cared in airports. Really? Yeah, just flying in the plane on the way back, because I literally went in the morning, came back in the evening, and it's just on the way back they were like, "Oh, please wear a mask," but like,
not for KOKO.
I mean, the thing is, like, people like I had my mask on, but the thing is, like, also no one cares as well. And I had this mask that was like in the back pocket of these jeans that I took out, and I was like, this is definitely worse than me wearing this mask. It's so dirty. It was like one of them, just like the blue disposable ones that had been like fucking scrunched, and even like one of the strings had snapped, and I'd like tied it back together.
Proper
rogue
junkyard mask.
Oh, it was horrible. I was like, wow, this mask is, that's a lot of shit on it, probably fungus and whatever.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Give yourself a chest infection.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's silly, but yeah, it feels nice, man.
Yeah. Are you positive about the world?
Yeah. I'm. Do you know what? I'm always in two minds. I feel like we've reached a point in society which is very unique, and I don't really think it's necessarily ever happened before.
I remembered my posture, and now I'm sitting like impossibly straight, and this is not sustainable for the rest of the podcast. I feel like we've reached a point in society which is super unique in terms of like human history, where so many people have so much power now that at some point something will give. I don't know what will. I don't know if like the worst one.
I mean, the thing is, that's the thing. It's like, obviously so many countries have nuclear weapons.
Yeah, what's the point? No one may as well have them now. Everyone's got them.
Yeah, it's just that's like I mean, obviously that's one, but then that's like a I don't know. I think that's not as likely. But for example, there's like people like hackers and shit. Like if someone if like a group like, I don't know, if like Anonymous, I don't even know if they're real. I don't even know what fucking Anonymous is, but if for example someone like that decides to like take down like the power grid in London and shit, like that would be fucking chaos. And I do think something bad will happen, but generally speaking, I think people are still full of life, and I mean, like, if I like to think as people as like quite simple creatures, we want to sort of keep going no matter what, we want to spread our seed and have like the next generation and have
spread our seed. That's a romantic way. Crazy.
Yeah. and like we want to keep life going, and I think there's a lot of collective effort to make sure that sort of happens in whatever way possible. I mean, you have the extremes of like Elon Musk wants like spread the seed in Mars,
people on the moon,
people on the moon and stuff, and there's people that I'm sure there's like lots of fucking wild like bunkers and shit around the world where
for sure. But I there's lots of interesting reading you can do about whether or not we could survive a nuclear war and how many people would need to survive in order to build back to the same, like estimations about X amount of generations to reinvent a lot of the stuff we'd already invented.
Yeah.
There is like a critical number of like, if we lost more than that amount of people, then we wouldn't stand a chance of rebuilding. But I've been listening a lot recently, not to make things too Joe Rogan-y, but you know the episodes where he has like Graham Hancock on,
oh, my favorite ones,
and like, you know, learning about Atlantis and what was it, the Younger Dryas
period,
cataclysmic event, which basically had a mass reset on humanity 10,000 years before we thought we became advanced. And you know, there may have been an entire period of human history that got wiped out that we didn't know, and yet there we were 10,000 years later developing again. So maybe these theories about, you know, human extinction are too pessimistic.
Do you know if I met this girl recently. He's actually coming on a podcast tomorrow. But she just came back from the US because she was there cooking for Randall Carlson.
Oh wow, nice.
She because her mum
is she a chef?
No, she actually does. She studies neuroscience. But she used to be a chef, but her mum organized Randall Carson's birthday dinner. And it's just like so fucking random, but she just came back, so I'm sure we'll talk about that. But yeah, I love that shit, man. It's so interesting. And obviously the
Graham Hancock's fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating. Very good at titling books as well. The Fingerprints of the Gods.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was happy when he came up with that.
Yeah. Fingerprints of the Gods. He's good with his words.
Very, very articulate, and I mean, also not a one-trick pony in terms of like, he's got his stuff about Atlantis, he's got his stuff about Göbekli Tepe. The stuff about the Amazon and the ruins that they're uncovering there is really interesting, you know, and the bittersweetness of it, that basically the only reason why we're discovering all of these structures is because we're completely destroying it. Whereas some of the others, people in that territory sound a bit, you know, just like, I forget his name, but the one that believes Atlantis is those concentric circles in the western Sahara region, you know, like the salt flats.
Oh yeah, I have seen those.
It'd be a very interesting structure, but I don't know. It's
I think Randall Carlson had something to say about that.
He doesn't believe it's there. I think he thinks it's in the Azores, the islands.
Yeah, that where there's like plates meet.
That was a tangent.
Yeah. I mean, ancient history in like Egypt and stuff. I happily just spent a few days just talking about that. Honestly,
have you seen that video where it's like a American primetime news station doing a segment on the fact that through 3D printing they've managed to reprint the voice box of Pharaoh?
No.
And
what the fuck?
they managed to like basically synthesize what his voice would have sounded like based on the shape of his voice box.
Oh my day.
And they just play one sound that comes through it, and it's just like,
Scientists were able to mimic Nessie Amun's voice by recreating his mouth and vocal cords with a 3D printer. It allowed them to produce a single sound.
What the fuck?
I'll show you. It's probably not very good podcast content. Referencing other videos, but I'll show it to you.
Oh mate, what the fuck? Yeah. I mean, in general, I feel good about the world. I do feel there's obviously a dread in me, quite consistently, but at the same time, as much dread there's twice as much joy and just positivity. Like, I don't know. I tend to see the good in people, and I feel like we live in a society where, yeah. I mean, again, this is just like, cliched, but like, the loudest people are kind of like the most negative and like the most extreme views and stuff.
Yeah.
And so much of the conversation gets led by the loudest, but then
I'm seeing a lot of kind of whataboutism at the moment, where whataboutism, like, important kind gestures, donations, raising awareness around one particular issue, is not met with sort of anything other than, oh, but you don't give a shit about this conflict or that situation or this case. And it's, I don't know, it's a fairly toxic trait perpetrated by people, I think, that, have maybe at one point had it happen to them. And, I don't know, it doesn't change anything. It just clouds the situation with kind of toxicity and spitefulness. And also, like, I think on a purely like intellectual basis, it doesn't make any sense to me, because once you open that door, like, what about this? If you really care, then where does that stop? Like, it becomes obscene. It becomes a necessity to tune yourself into every single issue everywhere at the same time.
Oh yeah, impossible. Yeah.
Like,
I feel like
physically can't do that to yourself.
Yeah. I feel like there's a weird societal pressure at the moment where there's pressure being put on people to sort of know the ins and outs of all issues, of all conflicts and problems, and anything from obviously anything to do with like the LGBT community to then like anything to do with Israel Palestine or Ukraine Russia or whatever.
Yeah. And people love telling people when they get it wrong.
Yeah, they love it. And the thing is, it's cool. Like they are important issues, but at the same time, you got to remember, it's like,
I know, and it creates, I think, the opposite effect again. It's like if people are afraid to even attempt to, do something, because the fallout from trying and getting it wrong is a lot worse than just not trying. We're not in progressive territory there.
And it's not even just a not trying, but just taking the populist view of what's acceptable.
Yeah,
that's also just like, that's kind of that's problematic within itself, because you're not really learning or about the situation, not questioning the situation. You're sort of just taking what's given to you and then
for sure
going with that.
No, there is. I mean, like, in some ways, it's, there's always progress and like being expected. We all need to be fluid in our opinions and accept when we're wrong and listen to people whose voices are more experienced. But that, I think, is like the active, positive side of things. But the barrage of quite nasty behavior that can sometimes come when people get shit wrong is not good. It was like when what was her name, Molly May, the like Little Mix? Boohoo? No.
Molly May, the creative,
yeah, who got in all sorts of trouble for saying everyone's got the same. It was.
What did she say?
She said everyone's got the same 24 hours in a day, and that delusional, kind of like forgetting the situation. Yeah, privilege and everything. But that was just like, she was so hated after that. And
really?
I just like, she got it wrong. She's a fucking 21-year-old who's in an insane position, shouldn't be in there, still like forming their opinions of life and like their outlook and learning, and yet like everything that they're going to say is taken into account by a lot of angry people, and angry rightly so, because it's never nice to hear people so like blatantly kind of forgetting what the reality of life is for people not in privileged positions. But at the same time, like, aren't we better than that? Just like everyone jumping on the internet to bully a 21-year-old for saying something stupid. Like, didn't you say stupid shit when you were 21? Like, the only difference is I didn't have a mouthpiece for, like, you know, several hundred million people. And like, you know, it's, I don't like connecting things, but, like, you know, how fucking sad it was when Caroline Flack took her own life. And yet, and everyone afterwards, you know, was like, oh, this is what happens when, you know, the media responds negatively towards women. And it's just like, well, stop fucking perpetuating it on Instagram. Like, the Daily Mail is only going to write that headline if they think, like, you know,
people are going to click on it.
People are going to click on it. Like, I don't know. It doesn't sit right seeing so much hate in such broad daylight, even when someone has said something stupid or done something wrong, you know. Yeah,
it is sad. It is sad. And also there's the, I mean, it's also so complicated because, you know, if someone says that in real life, you know, if your mate says that, then obviously you'd be like, what are you talking about? No,
you don't get the opportunity for discourse.
No.
You
don't get the opportunity to just, like, you know, actually have the conversation about it straight away, and it just gets sort of hand so quickly. And also, like, you know, places like the Daily Mail and stuff, I find them particularly fascinating because quite often I think, like, whenever they write something like something along the lines of, like, whatever, say Molly May, because that's the only name I can think of. Oh, Molly May walking down the red carpet in a super revealing dress or whatever. You know, they use. Quite often I think, like, these newspapers and these media outlets don't give a shit about what people actually wear and how revealing people are. But
I mean, half the Daily Mail writers are like 25-year-olds waiting to get a job at the Guardian. Like, it's you know, it's,
and they just write what people would get enraged about and click on. And
these are not the opinions of the writers. This is, like, massively fed by their readership.
Yeah, big time. Big time. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess maybe, like, you touched on something there, which is, like, because there's not that opportunity of conversation when you're asked to say something in the public light. You present an opinion as though it's a fact or a long-held life philosophy or something, when realistically in life, like, you know, like, half the shit I've said here, like, maybe in the next 4 hours I'll have a convo with a mate and completely do a 180 on something. And then that's like, but I guess when people interpret what someone is saying in like the public light as, like, a statement of fact in their life, it can seem much more critical and much more invalidating to them than perhaps a casual mention during a conversation could. And maybe that's why it's always met with such, like, force and pressure. That's quite good. Do you do any combat sports?
No, but I'm actually planning to.
Sorry, that was the weirdest thing. Break turn of the conversation.
No, I'm planning to, though. Some Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
My Anthony Bourdain, one of my heroes, chef, travel writer, man of the world.
He was really obsessed with it, wasn't he?
He was obsessed with BJJ.
Yeah.
BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. For those in the know.
Big job lots.
And it's very interesting how it seems to, you know, take up a lot of people's lives in a healthy way. But, you know, you hear a lot of stories of, you know, addicts in recovery. It seems like something you can give yourself to in the same way that many people give themselves to, you know, like running or crochet.
And it's also what tends to happen is specifically with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a lot of people that I like and I listen to, they all do it. I actually went to a session. I went to, like, a trial session, but then...
Does David Goggins do jiu-jitsu?
I don't think he does.
Joe Rogan does.
Joe Rogan, he loves it. Yeah. But, like, Lex Fridman, did you know Lex Fridman?
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves it. And there's a bunch of other people. I'm like, oh, man, I could... it's just also, I don't know. Not always, but in recent years, I've been more consciously trying to be not to be more masculine, but to be as masculine as I'd like to be. You know what I mean? I feel like fighting is a very there's something in me that wants to know how to fight and knows how to like to be able to like protect myself, even if I never have to do it. And ideally, I wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
But just there's some sort of like, I'm a man, I should know how to fight type of thing in me, where it's like I've tried to like, and I've been I mean, you know me, I'm a super non-aggressive guy.
Cuddly, friendly.
Yeah. But yeah, there's part of me that really.
You say to me with like very blatantly like a busted open knuckle right now.
That was from earlier. I was cleaning the freezer.
Yeah. I definitely understand what you mean about maybe kind of like reconnecting with masculinity in a healthy way. Because I think that, you know, a lot of the bastions of that sort of manliness over the last sort of decade or so have kind of been shown to be arseholes or predatory, or that behavior, you know, is normally encircled with that. And I think that now we're kind of entering a point where it's like, let's recontextualize manliness and what it is to be a guy and masculinity in a more healthy way. And yeah, I guess fighting's one way into it. You know, I spoke earlier about the aesthetics of bodybuilding versus just being functionally stronger, and that's been my own kind of journey with it. I think weirdly, like for the first year of my life, I think like slowly learning like what is attractive about men from a female perspective, and kind of like working through that. And a lot of the sort of aesthetic standards I hold myself to, you know, in terms of like what I do when I want to make myself look good or whatever,
right,
are things that I kind of picked up on from women. Whereas what I'm not really realizing is actually a lot of women find men attractive for things that are just natural kind of manly things, you know, like veiny arms, veiny hands, you know, a sort of solid abdomen, not like, you know, shredded washboard abs, but actually something that, you know, looks like a kind of pillar. I don't know. I mean, this is again one of those things where I'm like very much ears open and learning and kind of, as I said, reevaluating. So I don't want to go too far out with the statements I'm making, because
no, it's interesting because it's kind of like reading into because I feel like sort of when, but again, this I think like social media skews. Me personally just sort of skews my view of what people actually think, because there was a period where it's like, oh my gosh, we love dad bods, and it was that whole thing of like dad bods and whatever.
Bet David Goggins couldn't stand that period.
but it's like the thing is just like, yeah, some people, you know it's kind of like a thing to say, but it's not the case.
No, and I mean, attraction is like 100 million different things at any one point. Like, you know, I saw a fucking ID article about like, or what was it, Dazed, about short king season, and that like being tall was out, and with like the rise of like Tom Holland and people like that, it's short king season. It's just like, I mean, like, if you fall in love with someone and they're like 5'2", you fall in love with someone and they're 5'2". That doesn't mean that like
anything less or more.
Some sort of hypnotic pendulum which has swung, and the world is now like gone from like 5'2", 5'2". How tall is 5'2"? That's not very tall. I may be really drastically undercooked.
Yeah,
a
really
bit
short.
of hyperbole.
But I get what you're saying though. It's I don't know. I feel like again, these sort of articles get written because you know, of certain ideas that get pushed on social media and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, you know, which sort of makes sense, of course. But then, I don't know. To one sense, yes, it is. It's kind of healthy because, you know, taking like short men for like as an example, it's, you know, short men in society. You know, you go on like Tinder and Bumble, whatever. It's like if you're not 6 foot and over, it's like you got no chance. By the way, it looks like on every fucking girl's page.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, and I feel like, you know, if you're a short guy and if you go on, you've got that and you see it and you're like, oh man, it's bullshit. Like,
yeah,
I'm not.
To just discount someone as a person. Well, I mean, obviously, I think the one thing we sometimes don't realize about dating sites is like the shit some guys say on there to women is abhorrent, and like I don't know what, you know, other guys' profiles look like on like hetero set up like dating platforms, but I'm sure there are a lot of, you know, equally rude, unpleasant things to say on the male behalf. But no, how tall are you?
6'4". 6'4".
I'm 6'2".
It's good height, man.
The goat height.
Yeah,
it's the best one. 6'4" is good. Like you have the body of a 6'4" guy as well. Like everything's proportionately beefed out. I feel like I'm quite slight. Any taller than 6'2", I'd start to look like a sort of
a bit too lanky,
gangly, gangly spaghetti man. And I don't want to be a gangly spaghetti man.
Want a bit of meat.
Yeah, not too much, but a bit.
Yeah, not too much. You've always been quite slim, I guess.
Yes.
Just I mean, it's body types as well. Yeah.
I think so. You know,
so much genetics that plays into it, and how your body just retains, or like fat and muscle and stuff.
But one thing that I find really interesting is how jovially we're sort of describing like our positive relationships with our body and stuff like that, and it just like across the gender barrier, it could not be more of like an opposite situation. And again, it's just like, you know, it's always pleasant kind of having these conversations where you stumble across things like that, versus having the first word of the conversation taken, put on a headline, and then suddenly everyone's like, yeah, but what about women and their bodies? And it's like, allowing time for an arrival at a conclusion is always, you know, essential.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I love podcasts. You know, I think that's why I was sort of driven to make one, because it's just, I think we're sort of, I mean, I guess like purely to the fact of the rise of podcasts, and I think there's something insane. There's like millions of podcasts now. Yeah, like millions of podcasts, and the fact that there's an audience for them now sort of speaks to the fact of how just like,
I think, what is it, in America alone, I think last year's revenue brought in by podcasts was like $300 million. Is that not enough? Maybe
no, it's got to be more.
Yeah,
maybe 300 billion. Like, it's got to be something, because
not 300 billion.
Because Joe Rogan,
that's insane.
That's insane. But like Joe Rogan on his own, you know, he makes probably like 200 mil.
His Spotify deal was
100 mil or something. But then he gets more money on top of that from.
How much do you think Jamie gets paid? Do you reckon he's been really mean and just kept him on like an audio technician salary for like
40 grand, like $40,000 a year? Nah, he's got to be making bank.
Yeah, what you would hope so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
he's loyal to, you know, reward the people around him.
Yeah. I think he's making bank.
Comedians have had an interesting turn of it recently, obviously, with Will Smith slapping Chris Rock on stage, and
you see Dave Chappelle the other day,
and Jamie Foxx in a cowboy hat beating the shit out of this guy. All such insane stories.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What do you think that is? What do you think that's come down to? Like,
I imagine in both situations, what's actually, I mean, like the Will Smith thing, no one would have seen that coming, and I don't think anyone would have stopped it, because like the directors of the show are probably like, oh, Will's going up on stage, it's going to be funny, they're going to do a bit. What was so weird with that was the way he then was presented with an award and a standing ovation, despite like quite blatantly like assaulting someone on stage. I think they kind of pulled some punches on the disciplinary action. I don't know, there's a bunch of Los Angeles locals that can shed a lot more about the Pinkett Smith drama and everything, but I know there's a lot of shit to unpack around the Dave Chappelle thing, I don't know. Well, everyone thought it would be a sort of retaliatory transphobic retaliation to the transphobic stuff that Chappelle did on his original. It doesn't look like that. It looks like it was I think they got the guy right.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't actually. I
don't know if I don't think either two are related in terms of like motivation. But I would say like I don't know, like security should have been like in front of the stage. Maybe that's a COVID hang up. Maybe there are not as sort of like tightly knitted security barriers because of distancing at venues. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely not a good time to venture into stand-up comedy if you were thinking of doing that for your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually think it might be a good time to be a comedian, because I feel like now there's a time of like there's a real pushback on being cancelled, I think, now, where in a couple years ago, I don't think that was the case. I think like
it was fairly permanent.
Yeah, like being cancelled was, like if you said the wrong things and whatever, you automatically had to apologize, because otherwise that was it. I think now, I think he was almost sort of better off doubling down on.
I think everyone sort of slightly got a bit sick of like perpetuating the lie that cancel culture is good. It just became a bit stupid. Nothing was like earnest or sincere. Like none of the apologies ever meant anything, and people didn't really learn. They just got pissed off and upset and sad because, oh no, my career after
30 years of grinding, it's just over because. But like,
I guess, I mean, there's all sorts of minutiae and nuance to the reasons that people's cancelling, but in general, I would say that like the world has stopped pretending that it's an effective means of dealing with stuff, because it doesn't fix anything, and almost always comes back to bite you in the ass. Like I say it all the time, but like the Rust Belt in America felt completely neglected during much of President Obama's administration.
The Rust Belt.
Yeah, like a collection of states in the kind of like central US that maybe don't align with the more liberal values of like the East Coast and West Coast. And like cancelling them, so to speak, kind of just resulted in an enormous force of people wanting to elect President Trump, which was what happened. And like I guess like if there is venom and toxicity in someone, shoving it out of eyesight is not a good way.
It makes it worse.
Of remedying. I think it needs compassion and attention and work. It's not an advocation of like venomous toxic behavior. It's just like in what situation, we see in the jail system that like just punishing someone for the sake of punishing them and putting them away out of sight doesn't solve problems. It creates 7 more problems, But then the jail, I don't know enough about that.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic of study. Yeah.
But God, what we talked about everything. So
yeah, we have. We sort of just. To be honest, feels like we're just catching up.
Yeah.
Because we haven't really spoken properly.
Atlantis. David Goggins.
Dave Chappelle.
It's
David's.
Gender politics regarding body image.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah.
Reframing masculinity in the contemporary context. Fascinating. What are you up to for the rest of the weekend? What have you got planned?
The rest of the weekend, today, I need to fix my... last night, I broke another light. I broke the toilet light because we have one of them like pulleys.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't working. It was just fucking yanking on it. And we've been yanking on it for like 2 weeks.
Pull down a floorboard from the ceiling upstairs.
So yeah, I need to have a go at that. Chill out today. Tomorrow got another podcast, which actually is going to be I'm really excited for.
Oh, I'm glad.
I was excited.
It will be much better than
No. This felt more like a friendly catch up rather than an interview per se.
Well, I guess that's like the dichotomy of podcasts, isn't it? It's like some are always going to be that more like, let me pick your brains, and some are just going to be both equally enjoyable, but like for different reasons.
Yeah.
Do you ever listen to Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard?
No.
It's quite a good one.
What's that?
It's just your run-of-the-mill man midlife crisis podcast.
Yeah.
Like just him and his famous mates talk about everything.
Nice.
Interesting stuff, quite personal stuff too.
What else do you listen to actually?
So I listen to one called the Bret Easton Ellis podcast, which is run by Bret Easton Ellis, shockingly. And he is an American author who wrote American Psycho.
Cool.
And Less Than Zero and Imperial Bedrooms, just to name some of his books. And yeah, it's sort of half film / lit / art review, half music. He gets very interesting guests on there. And over lockdown is actually when I started subscribing, because I've always been a fan of his novels. He started serializing a novel that he was writing in lifetime, and kind of doing audiobook segments every other week over the pandemic. And it was just this amazing thing, like, that I feel so lucky to have listened to when it was coming out, because it's like you look at, like Arthur Conan Doyle or Charles Dickens, these were writers who earned their careers by writing serialized, some of the Sherlock Holmes used to come out in the newspaper every like week or month or whatever, and that feels like ancient history. So it was crazy to kind of experience what the modern contemporary iteration of that was, and how, because I don't know if he'd finished his outline before he started recording the first episode, or like what the kind of the lead time or delay was in each chapter and stuff, but it felt pretty high octane, high risk, like, I can't imagine it was easy for him having to churn out like entire chapters in a fortnight that were then, once they were read, it was like that's it, what's gone out to the world. So especially as he's a writer that's taken 7 or 8 years to complete a book, like but that is a podcast I listen to. I listen to a podcast called Review, which is very funny, by 2 American comedians, Jeffrey James and Riley Anspar. And they find some of the funniest reviews they can on Yelp. And they talk about them and like review them, and then they use them as
that's so niche.
They use them as like intro points to kind of like improv sets.
And
that's good, fantastic. Yeah, really good. I listen to If I Were You, which is Jake and Amir's podcast on HeadGum.
Quite a bit then.
Yeah, I'd say so. There's around like 4 or 5 there. Great for driving, to be honest with you, and long.
Oh, you drive?
Yeah. Still driving. It's such a save in lower budget film production things where you can't afford van rentals or drivers.
I'll ask you something before we sort of end.
Okay.
When you work, right,
Yeah.
Because obviously, so in terms of obviously on a day-to-day basis, is most of your stuff sort of freelance or or so you have to make your own schedule and how do you go about that? Do you have like a daily routine type of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, interestingly, things like running kind of help carve out that routine for you, right? Because like you're needing to make sure you get your meals prepared because you need calories at the right time of day and stuff. But generally, normal work day for me, if I'm like on a live job or something, will be up at 7:30, overnight oats and a coffee in bed.
Nice.
And then if I'm running in the morning, I'll go for a run. If I'm running in the evening, I'll just crack straight on. But it depends. I mean, so many of the tasks I kind of do in directing are so manic and all over the place. About the only thing that looks the same consistently is treatment writing and deck writing, which is like, you know, putting together pitch docs, I guess would be how I'd explain it, for, you know, like pitch docs to convey the idea of the music video. And that is, I always do that in sections. I create a skeleton of a document in Adobe InDesign. So, you know, title page, intro segment, cinematography breakdown, art department breakdown, etc., etc. And then I'll start working in images to everything. And all of this is kind of like helping feed ideas as well, because you can get really inspired by some of the images you see and collect. And the last thing I do is actually start filling in text and writing what we're seeing and what the thing's about, because so much of your understanding about what it is you're going to go and do actually arises during the creation. You know, you have your initial kernel of an idea, and then kind of building out this portfolio of that idea kind of helps inform different bits and how you could get from X to Y to Z. And so I don't like using text too early because, you know, it's stays visceral. But that's just, you know, that's computer work, laptop work, and same with writing for narrative and fiction and stuff. A lot of that takes place on revision cards, then working into documents, into more detailed documents until you work into your script writing software. But I go on lots of walks during my days. I find that if you know, like, if the task is to come up with a good idea, then sitting still doesn't really help that. And so generally I'll you know, move around, keep things in the back of my mind or the side or the front. And things germinate over time. And yeah, I mean, it's, I guess, but I always have like a to-do list, you know, of the day. I don't necessarily structure things to like the hour or whatnot. But generally it's, emails and communication in the morning. And then around like 10:30, 11 is like getting on with the tasks at hand. And I guess one of the things I struggle with is maybe switching off and stopping working, because it can very easily just bleed into the evening, you know, TV on in the background, still working on the treatment or whatever. And sometimes that's not so healthy, and you need to have like a hard off switch. 6,
or like a point of like diminishing returns type of thing. Yeah,
definitely. But unfortunately, sometimes with like the music video industry, the turnaround for sending off treatments for briefs is just so...
You get like a day.
Yeah, literally insane. And I think, I don't know, something's got to change in that regard, because it's not an ethical way of working, you know, expecting all of these creatives who are not being paid to drop whatever's on their schedule to get a deck out for a musical release, which has probably been in the pipeline for much longer.
It definitely has, yeah.
And equally, you know, the turnaround times for these projects are so mad, when in reality, like, sometimes things just sit waiting to be released once they're completed, and it's like, if you gave us more time, that would have been amazing, but I understand. Yeah, I don't know.
So you do have some sort of like, you've sort of over the years sort of like figured out your own
ways of working. But it changes, and I think the most important thing is to stay versatile and adaptable. We all have our creature comforts, you know, our writer's desk or our preferred brand of notebook or whatever. But, you know, the actual tasks at hand are always so incredibly different that no work day feels entirely the same. Obviously, when you're in like pre-production, you know, it can feel maybe a bit more similar because everything's to do with the same project. But when you're kind of bouncing between different companies for different tasks, I think that, you know, it's very liberating feeling, so kind of unchained to one specific, you know. There are obviously great perils of it because things can like dry up completely, or you don't get any like, you know, corporate care in terms of like pensions or stuff like that, you know, the advantages that you get with a contracted job. But now's the time to live that way, I suppose.
Yeah, sort of. It feels that way anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. It does make me think though, like when we sort of reach our age of like 60, 70, I wonder like how many people in our sort of world would be like, well,
be freelance,
freelancing, like, what, got no pension, not much saved up.
Yeah, interesting. We'll probably all be living in like space pods by then.
yeah. Well, it'll just be like,
Rent will be a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Be on Mars with Elon.
Yeah, something like that.
That's what we'll have to do to afford to keep living. Nominate ourselves.
Just like all the artists.
One-way ticket to
populate Mars.
To see if they've managed to perfect the atmosphere. They don't quite know. Take your helmets off and
have a go. Yeah, see how the gravity affects your height. Maybe they'll send all the short people because they'll get taller.
What a wonderful full circle. Sending short people to Mars.
Yeah, that's the only solution to modern day problems.
You'd hope that they'd get it right and they would get taller, but it'd be very funny if they got it wrong and they just got you.
Oh no, that'd be real bad. Yeah. Anyway,
it
was good to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
it's been a wonderful chat.
Yeah,
Perrier sparkling water was delicious.
Yeah, maybe I'll have you on and we'll have like a proper in-depth film.
Oh, that would be really fun.
And write in.
I'd love to talk about films.
Yeah, I know you're good at that.
Have you ever had more than one guest on?
Yeah, I had one with Ella and Johnny.
Okay.
And that was chaos.
Yeah.
There was like a pre-drinks one.
Nice.
So they were both going out, and it was quite fun actually. I enjoyed that. It was a different energy.
Nice. Yeah. Chaos.
Yeah. I've got the third chair there. That's why that's there.
Yeah, I see.
Need to get another mic really.
Yeah. But hey, baby steps, right?
Baby steps, exactly, yeah.